Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Dude here, and today I'm going to be venturing outside of the Group 3 category to provide a setup for the Chaparral 2J. Now, pretty much every other car from this era, every other race car at least that is in Gran Turismo 7, is far inferior to this thing. For 1970, this thing can absolutely set an amazing lap time around almost every track. It is extremely versatile, and obviously renowned for its fan at the bottom of the car generating a lot of underbody downforce, and you can definitely feel it. Some of the low speed corners, you're going through them way faster than you have any business doing, and you can also feel it a lot at the high speed corners as well. The setup today is obviously going to revolve around that fan and trying to maximize the potential of that fan while also giving the car a mechanical balance that's a little bit easier to handle, because this thing can be very twitchy and very nervous and difficult to drive in certain corners. And I think that setup addresses many of this car's potential downfalls while also making sure that the fan is generating tons of downforce to get you around the corners and around the track in a timely manner. Before I get started here, guys, if you can leave a like, comment, and also subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it, especially if you did enjoy the setup and or the video. This greatly helps me out. Without further ado, let's get into the setup. So here we are inside the Chaparral 2J setup. Obviously, as you can see, we are kind of in the region of under 900 performance points. That's kind of the sweet spot for this thing. You can detune it, and I think you can get a little more performance points out of it, but essentially I'm running this maxed out, balls to the walls as fast as it can go. And doing that, it is an extremely effective machine at 900 pp. Even though it only has 683 horsepower, which isn't really that much, it only weighs 1,800 pounds, and it absolutely hauls down the straightaway. I'm talking at the end of the Trial Mountain straightaway, this thing is going 7 or 8 miles per hour faster than the Sauber Mercedes, which also exits the corner prior even faster. So yeah, this thing is unbelievably good, especially in a straight line, but even in the low speed corner is really impressive. So the first thing obviously is you're going to notice the ride height. Now, on some of my early tunes, I may have actually put the front ride height up when I shouldn't have, but on this car in particular, you do need to run a little bit of reverse rake to keep the car stable through some of the high-speed corners. It becomes extremely difficult and borderline undrivable if you don't do this. Also, 10 and 1 kind of accomplishes the same thing, providing me with a little bit more understeer, especially when applying the throttle in a higher speed corner. You could definitely feel the rear a little bit more, and you can kind of predict when it's going to step out. On top of the fact it's a lot less likely to step out in conjunction with the expansion dampers as well. Now, also the natural frequency on this car is pegged all the way full stiff. The reason for this is you really do want to make sure that the car stays planted on the ground as much as possible, get the fan working. I actually found when I put the natural frequency down, which makes some cars even more stable, on this car it had the opposite effect and made it undrivable, just because the fan was detaching over little bumps and undulations, and I got loose and completely spun out. Otherwise, it's a pretty standard setup. This thing can break traction pretty easy, so I also have the acceleration sensitivity down. Onto the transmission now. We have a 5-speed gearbox. We did install the 5-speed. I know this thing came with a 3-speed, but definitely the 5-speed is a major upgrade. This V8 doesn't have an immense amount of torque, so getting those extra gears and those extra revs is really important. With that being said, my first gear is extremely long, but again, this car has the power to back up a first gear like this. If you're doing a grid start, maybe you want to shorten it a little bit. Otherwise, I really do think this is the most effective way to run the transmission, at least on a track like Trial Mountain. If you do want to make the transmission longer for a track with a longer straight, you will have to move the final gear at the bottom there to the left. And maybe if you want to preserve a little more revs on a track with not as long of a straightaway, then maybe you want to move the final gear way further to the right. But yeah, that's the setup for the Chaparral 2J, guys. I'm actually going to be doing a reference lap with this car, and I'm going to be actually creating 2 separate leaderboards. I'm going to have the GR3 leaderboard for all the GR3 cars, and then I'm going to have the overall leaderboard that just puts every car that I run laps with on that leaderboard. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the lap. So here we are at Trial Mountain Circuit today in the Chaparral 2J. Now this thing is absolutely immense on the straights for a car with only 700 horsepower or just under that. But again, it's really light and it doesn't have a lot of overbody downforce, which helps it a lot. 200 miles per hour, hard on the brakes for a second. Get the thing turned in, or lean on those fans, be nice and safe on the throttle here because it can kill you. Hard on the brakes once again. Now in the low speed corners, I actually find it to be a little more stable, but you still have to be careful on traction. The old 70s tires. Get the thing tucked in, use first gear here. Back into second. Try to lean on the downforce as much as you can through here, even though there isn't too much at this speed. set up for the last corner before the big straight. And don't loop the car. It's very easy to do there as well in second gear. And, you know, already we're going 190 miles per hour right entering the tunnel. Gonna get to about 217, hard on the brakes here. Second gear, get the thing turned in, get the fan working at low speed. Don't put too much steering input here, especially through this follow-up section where there's a few bumps. Do not put a lot of steering input. Hard on the brakes. Maybe could have carried a little more speed on the entry, but the exit is nice. Exit is smooth. Get the thing down to the curb once again. Second gear. You need to brake a little bit sooner than you think here because of the crazy acceleration. Get it into first gear. It rotates like a dream through these low speed corners. And wow, absolutely amazing. The lap wasn't perfect, but it was good enough. And we come to the line in a 134.314. Now, I can't stress enough, this car's performance is way ahead of its time. And here I'll show you where it places on our leaderboards. Yeah, again, 900 pp. This thing's a monster if you can control it. You do have to be very, very smooth with your inputs, especially the throttle and especially the steering. One thing I do want to tell you guys, and a big pro tip with this car, is do not fight the car. Once you kind of turn the car in and you have your initial steering input and you feel the car rotating, maybe it's rotating a little bit too much off of your ideal racing line, don't fight it. Let the car kind of decide what it wants to do itself, because if you have any crazy or jagged inputs, it's going to kill you, and it's going to kill you fast in a way where you cannot recover. So that's my big tip with this car, is if you want to drive it effectively and really fast, definitely be very, very smooth with your throttle inputs and your steering inputs. Maybe if you want a little bit more stability with the car, you can raise the front ride height up a little more. I like running it the way it is though. But yeah, before I close this out, also if you do enjoy the setup and or the video, just a quick reminder to click the subscribe button as well as like and comment, and tell me which kind of car you would like to see me do next in these Gran Turismo 7 journey. I really do appreciate all the support you guys have provided me on my previous few videos, and I'll continue to upload these and we'll grow together. I hope you guys have a good night, and I'm out. Peace.